Welcome, learners. I am Dr. Abdul Huda, Assistant Professor, Department of Islamic Studies, Aligarh Muslim University. As we have discussed much about Muhammad Abduhu, let's have a glance that what was his legacy and the influences. Dear learner, what we found that our personality, Muhammad Abduhu, was also an advocate of women's education. And as well as he was also advocating about the rights of the women in the society, in the nation, and worldwide. He was of the opinion that empowering women was essential for the progress of a civilized society. Here, I may add that if a woman will be educated, and if the women will be given their due right, then definitely the women will contribute toward the welfare of the nation, welfare of the society, and as well as building up of a very constructive society. Very important thing is that the women are basically the cultivators of the future. It was Muhammad Abdu in the 19th century who had advocated strongly and firmly that the women should be educated. They should also be given their due right. And it is an integral part of the society also. Further, learners, we can say that Muhammad Abduhu views had also contributed to the early feminist movement, especially in the Arab world, that has promoted the ideas regarding the women's that they should have an access to education and to participate in the public life. Many feminist movements, in due course of our learning, we will find that how he had influenced the people also, who were then advocate of the feminism and women's right also. Dear learners, we found that his influences had extended beyond Egypt. His idea resonated with the intellectuals and reformers in various countries, for example, Turkey, India, North Africa. Just mentioning a Turkey, we found in Turkey Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who laid foundation to the Republic of Turkey. He modernized the Turkey. He had taken out the Turkey from the Ottoman Caliphate or Empire. He was constantly working for the welfare, and Mustafa Kemal Pasha advocated that through modernism, the nation can progress manyfold. In India, we found, as I have already mentioned earlier or discussed earlier, the Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. The idea of Muhammad Abdu resonated with the work of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan because Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was a true visionary. He was talking about the importance of education, including the education for all people in the society. And on the other hand, Muhammad Abduhu in Egypt, he had also had the same view. So their idea has resonated with each other. Even in North Africa also, many reformers came. They had also worked in the lines of the Muhammad Abduhu. They also advocated regarding the influences of education, the importance of education, about the women's right also, and as well as about the concept of nationalism and patriotism. Dear learners, we can say that the vision of Muhammad Abduh was very modern. It was rational. That had inspired many movements within the Muslim countries, and that were to sought to address social and political issues in the Muslim world. Muhammad Abduhu was the Grand Mufti of Egypt. He served as a Grand Mufti of Egypt, and he has used his position to promote the reformist idea and has even challenged various traditional views. He had given the decrees and verdict, the fatwas, against the traditionalists, the conservative views also. Just we have said, debated about the education of the woman. The traditional view was the education should not be given, or the higher, especially the higher education, should not be given to the woman. He advocated, no, every sort of education should be given and provided, and even a measure should be taken up that the women can also participate in the learning and gaining education. We can say his leadership helped to shape public discourses around Islam throughout the Muslim countries, and as well as its role in the contemporary society also. Dear learners, we found that there were many personalities who were inspired by the views, thought of Muhammad Abduhu, and as well as those personality has themselves contributed in the progress of the nation, progress of the political thought, and as well as toward the promotion of the feminism also, and even toward the promotion of the educational system also. A concrete, that's educational system or the way Muhammad Abduhu has talked about, it should be implemented. For example, Rashid Rida. We have talked earlier that he was a disciple of Muhammad Abduhu, and along with him, Muhammad Abduhu has written Tafsirul Manar also. So Rashid Rida himself was an influential Islamic scholar, a Muslim scholar, influential, and as well as he was also a journalist. He used to write in the magazine, the newspapers, and the journal on various aspects related to the political, religious, and social. Just considering Rashid Rida, that we found that Rashid Rida, through his writing, had tried to expand the ideas of Muhammad Abduhu. The way Muhammad Abduhu has viewed and the vision of the Muhammad, he had expanded the vision and ideas and thoughts of Muhammad Abduhu through his writing. Especially, he advocated for the revival of Islamic thought, that the Islamic thought should be revived, and as well as about the establishment of the modern Islamic state. He was an advocate that the modern Islamic State should be established. And the modern Islamic State can also defend themselves from all sort of external threats and pressures. The modern Islamic State will be very much well equipped in each and everything. Regarding the Islamic thought, he depicted these things in his work Tafsirul Manar. The way he had interpreted, along with Muhammad Abdul, the verses of the Holy Quran, that he was focusing on the new Islamic thought, not the traditional one, not the classical one. Interpreting the thing in a newer paradigm, in a newer feature. Another important personality that was very much inspired by Muhammad Abduhu was Qasim Amin. It was Qasim Amin who was somehow also a disciple of Muhammad Abduhu, and he was an advocate of feminism. He advocated feminism and as well as the women's right also. And we found that he was opposed to the conservative mass people, the conservative mass society, and to whom he considered that because these conservative mass society were against any sort of innovations, though the innovation is somehow is good for, and innovation can be done through ijtihad, and they consider the innovation as a heretic approach and as a non-existing approach. He said, no, innovation through an ijtihad and ijma is beneficial. And he outrightly opposed the views and thought of the conservative scholars, the leaders, and the peoples. Qasim Amin showed that Islam is far from degrading women. Islam doesn't degrade women. He showed through his writing that Islam doesn't degrade the women. It was generally believed at that time that Islam degrade. But contrary to this viewpoint, he was in favor that Islam favors women. That's why in the Holy Quran we find a chapter on the women, Surah Al-Nisa. Qasim Amin also envisioned, also thought that the responsibility for placing the woman at a disadvantaged lay is not of belong to the Islam. It is the Muslim society. It is the Muslim society who is responsible. It is not the Deen, not the Islam that can be made responsible. It is our own views, thought, and as well as our prerogative that is resulting in resulting in the disadvantages for the women. So he was an advocate of feminism and the women's right. Another key figure that was who was inspired by Muhammad Abduhu was Ali Abdul Razik. He, along with his brother Mustafa Abdul Razik, he was also inspired. And he was an Egyptian scholar. And he has worked on the political aspect after drawing and inferences from the lectures, thought, writings of Muhammad Abduhu, that what we had already learned from earlier aspect, that Muhammad Abduhu was of the view that politics and religion are interrelated to each other. And it was he who had argued for the separation of religion and the state. And his work challenged the traditional view of the caliphate. And he was in a view to promote a more secular approach of governance. Like Abduhu, he was against the separation of religion and the state. No, it should be very, but not in a manner of the old classical traditional way of the caliphate, which was almost a type of the kingship. So no, it should be secular as well as democratic one. Then everything will be in order. Another important feminist scholar was Huda Sharawi. She was himself a woman and a feminist writer. She was also very much influenced by the thought of Muhammad Abduhu on the right to be given to the woman in the society. And the way Muhammad Abduhu talk about the importance of education for the woman, the importance of giving the due right to women in the society. She was very much influenced by the views and thought of Muhammad Abduhu. After Muhammad Abduhu, she belonged to the 20th century. In the lines of the thought of Muhammad Abduhu, she also advocated that the woman should be empowered by providing the facility for education, giving them opportunity for education, and as well as giving them an opportunity in the affairs of the state also. And that played a crucial role in the early feminist movement in Egypt. The work of Huda Sharawi played an important role. As we have mentioned in North Africa, in the African continent, we found a very renowned and influential leaders, Sheikh Anta Diop. He admired the views and thought of Muhammad Abdul, the reformers' views. And it was Sheikh Anta Diop who had emphasized through his speeches, through his dialogues, by approaching the masses, the importance of African identity and as well as the heritage in the context of Islamic thought. What we learned from Muhammad Abduh, that he advocated about the concept of nationalism, the identity, the patriotism. The people should be patriot. So Sheikh Anta Diop somehow tried to implement the views and thought of Muhammad Abdul in his region. And he was listened by many people. Nowadays, we found a leader of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. I feel so somehow he was inspired by Sheikh Anta Diop. He's also talking about the African identity. He's also talking about the heritage of the Africa, which Sheikh Anta Diop has already expressed. And Sheikh Anta Diop was talking about the Islamic thought because it was Africa, where Islam has spread manyfold, and many African Muslims had also contributed in the development of the Islamic thought. So he was talking in this way that this should be also understood. The heritage should be read and understood and should be implied in the modern aspect. Another person who was inspired by Muhammad Abduhu was Taha Hussein. He was an Egyptian novelist and he had emphasized on the importance of education and as well as about the enlightenment also. He's a very recent modern scholar. And his writing shows that the effect of Muhammad Abdu's thought. His work often explored theme of social justice and the importance of knowledge. Muhammad Abdu talk about the social justice. In the writing of Taha, we find that he's debating on the social justice. Dear learners, let's discuss about what we learn. What are our learning outcomes? First of all, Muhammad Abduhu was a reformer and as well as an ideologue of the 19th as well as the 20th century. During the 19th century, he had very much influenced the people. Even in the 20th century, as we mentioned, Rashid Rida, Qasim Amin, Sheikh Diop, Sheikh Anta Diop, Huda Sharawi, Ali Abdul Razak, he was an ideal for them. He was born in the Nile Delta region of Egypt. We learned that he got his early education in a very traditional Islamic way. It was just because the efforts of his mother, as we have discussed, at the age of either 15 and 16, he got enrolled in Jamia Al Azhar University, where he heard and learned about Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani and even met him. The meeting of his with Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, when he was in Paris, he met with Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, but at Azhar he heard, and what he heard, it has shaped his future course of life. That what he has to do in his life. He, along with Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, started a reformist journal, a magazine, Al Urwatul Wasaqa, the firmest bond, the unbreakable bond. What we learned that Muhammad Abdul had emphasized on the importance of reason and rational thought in the understanding of faith. We also learned he believed that religion should adapt to modernity and scientific advancement. Here he means by religion the follower of the religion. They should adapt. He advocated for the educational reform. His initiative was to empower individuals as well as the society. The power he had talk about the power of education. He had promoted the idea of ijtihad, that it should be conducted in any way to interpret the Islamic text as per the need and time. We also learn he stressed on the significance of moral and ethical values in our daily life. How to lead our daily life. He had a stress upon the significance that morality is an important aspect. We learned that he had argued for the separation of religion from politics, but to ensure the freedom of belief. It doesn't mean that from the state and the religion. No, it's integral part. But separation, that excessive usage of that one, unnecessary, the traditional approach, it should be separated from that. Instead, it should be the best one has to be taken into account. He was about the separation of that religious views and thought that has no value itself in the religion. Muhammad Abduhu encouraged the dialogue between different cultures and religions for the mutual understanding also. We learned that he viewed Islam as a progressive force that could contribute to social justice. We also learned that he believed in the potential of individual to effect positive change in society. We found that his teaching inspires the ongoing discussion about the role of Islam in contemporary issues.